daughter takes this better than you.
The Dead Rising franchise is all about players being able to use almost anything as a weapon, whether that's a shovel, a trash can, or even a carton of milk. But you know what? That makes the game too easy, and I want to struggle. So today, I tried beating Dead Rising 2 without weapons. The challenge starts with me having to run over zombies for money, but obviously, I couldn't do that. So instead of trying to get first place, I drove around the arena like a goddamn idiot. Sure, my daughter may have been relying on the prize winnings so that I could buy her some Zombrex, but sometimes there are more important things in life than protecting your only child. Unfortunately, the $300 I had won as a pity prize wouldn't be enough for what my daughter needed, and it was in that moment I contemplated abandoning her. That is, until the zombie apocalypse started. At first, I was terrified, but after a second or two, I realized that this was actually a blessing in disguise. It didn't matter that I got last place in the tournament now. Effective immediately, Zombrex in the mall was completely free. All you had to do was steal it or kill someone for it. And so I was off to find Katie. The hallway was a nice place to test out my skills. At this point in the game, the only move I had at my disposal was the punch. The punch is okay, but when it's the only thing I'm able to rely on as my means for survival, it starts to become a problem. If I was to get through this, I'd need more advanced moves, like the stomp, the elbow drop, and the drop kick. So, how would I get those? Well, I have to level up, and because I can't do that by killing zombies with special weapons, I'd have to rely purely on saving random survivors in the mall and killing psychopaths. The journey wouldn't be easy, but I was ready for it. After just barely getting through the hallway of death, I found my daughter hiding in a closet, picked her up, and charged headfirst into a horde of zombies. Yeah, that was a mistake. It was immediately clear to me that I had no chance of making it through that room alive. And so, like Shane betraying Otis to get away from a horde of zombies, I went up behind Pat when he wasn't looking and kicked him as hard as I could. Unfortunately, his death wasn't enough, so I also had to kill Jeremiah and Helen too. Once Katie and I got out of that godforsaken place, I noticed a big man bolting his way to a safe house. So I followed him, met a man named Sullivan, and that is where my journey truly began. First things first, my daughter needed some Zombrex. When I got to the pharmacy, I asked some guys there for some Zombrex, but instead of giving it to me, they wanted to break my legs. If I wanted to get through this, I'd have to defend myself with force. After killing all 3 of those goons with nothing but my bare fists, I broke into the pharmacy's back room and found a case of Zombrex on the desk. That meant my daughter was safe for the time being, but I'd need a hell of a lot more of it if I was going to get through this thing. And oh yeah, I saved Denise. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with survivors. On one hand, they're a good source of pee-pee. On the other hand, they're completely brain dead. I mean, look at this. Not even 2 steps out of the pharmacy and Denise was already at risk of being killed. It took every ounce of power in my soul not to smash a bar stool over her fucking head. Anyway, I got her back to the safe house, she gave me 10,000 pee-pee, and I gave my daughter her medicine. Now that that was taken care of, it was time to clear my name. You see, it was revealed on the news that I was the reason the mall got overrun with zombies. There was literally no proof that I did it other than the guy in the video wearing my motocross uniform, but everyone believed it anyway. I tried to tell Stacy that I was innocent, but for some reason, she just didn't believe me. I had only one lead, and it was that a newsgirl named Rebecca was in the nearby hotel. If I was able to get to her, I could tell her my side of the story, and maybe, just maybe, we could figure out what the hell was happening around here. On my way to the hotel, I decided to save a few survivors. I didn't think much of it, really. It was just me being a good guy. I didn't expect any rewards for my work, so you can only imagine my surprise when, after leveling up, I learned the jump kick. No longer was I restricted to a single move. No. I was starting to become a real threat. Now, of course, I still had a long way to go, but it was a step in the right direction. When I eventually made my way over to the hotel, I noticed a little name tag on the floor. I thought that was odd, so I went to pick it up. But then, all of a sudden, a zombie literally spawned out of nowhere and wanted to kill me.
You need to pay attention out here, buddy.
I love you.
There I was, face to face with the love of my life, and I looked like a complete psychopath. She didn't even want to touch me. So I did the only thing that made sense in that situation. I smashed her over the head with a sledgehammer over and over until she accepted me for who I was. And it worked. She even started flirting with me afterwards. It was then we became a team, and I promised Rebecca that from that point on, I would dedicate my life to protecting her. I had some downtime after that, so I decided that saving survivors would be something fun to do. And so that's what I did, saving survivor after survivor after survivor. Then I got to Leon. You know, that psychopath who humps his motorcycle? Yeah. How in the hell was I gonna beat him? Was it even possible? No. This was too much, even for me. Not only was I weak as hell, I also had a very strict time limit. Any time wasted on him was time that I could have used somewhere else. And look, the amount of damage I was doing to him was next to nothing. By the time I beat him, the military would have already arrived at the mall. There simply wasn't enough time. But you know what? I fought. This man was a psychopath, and he needed to be taken out. So the battle went on. I punched him, I jump kicked him, and eventually with enough power, determination, and orange juice, Leon was finally defeated. I couldn't believe it. Me, just some loser who enjoyed beating up old people with chairs in his spare time. I actually did it.
Who's a coward now, mama?
But before I go over what happens next, let me tell you about War Thunder, the sponsor of today's video. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and I've been enjoying my fair share of it since the March break. It's basically a really fun war simulator, and you can play as more than 2,000 tanks, airplanes, helicopters, and ships in combined arms PvP battles. The battles themselves are really cool. For example, instead of hit points, vehicles suffer actual realistic damage, which is such an awesome addition. There's even this damage x-ray that shows you exactly what happened to you or your opponent as you're playing. I just love how this game gives you the freedom to choose whether you want to be a ground unit, an air unit, or a naval unit, and how they all interact with each other in battle is always so much fun to watch. War Thunder has also got some amazingly detailed graphics in 4K resolution, with every vehicle being incredibly detailed down to their individual components. It's got authentic wartime sound effects, awesome music, and is overall a really immersive combat experience. Play War Thunder now for free on PC, Xbox Series X or S, PS5, and on the previous console generation using my link in the description or pinned comment down below. You'll get a large free bonus pack when you sign up using my link, and you'll get multiple premium vehicles, premium account boosters, and a lot more. Alright, now let me introduce you to Brandon. Brandon was a good boy. He always tried his best in everything he did, but unfortunately, he sometimes did some things that weren't so good, like kidnapping poor innocent girls. When I told him what he was doing was wrong, he told me to piss off and that he had already claimed her as his wife. Since society unfortunately didn't work that way, I decided to beat him up. And let me just say, this guy was insane. Trying to hurt Brandon without him hurting me was damn near impossible, and the amount of health he would take off me versus the amount of health I would take off him was just way too much. It was completely impossible. I didn't have enough coffee creamer to deal with the guy, and so I ran away. There was just nothing I could do. In the meantime, I headed to the underground area. Apparently there was something fishy going on down there, and my suspicions were confirmed when TK sicked his goons on me. Using nothing but my jump kicks, I took out his boys and then chased his train on a motorcycle. Now, at first glance, this doesn't seem like a problem, right? Wrong. If I so much as kill a single zombie with my motorcycle, the challenge is immediately failed. So what I have to do is chase TK's train in a tunnel chock full of zombies and somehow avoid hitting any of them. This wouldn't be so bad if I could just camp out behind the train as it cleared a path for me, but because this game is complete garbage, zombies would randomly teleport through the train. The amount of times this made me fail the challenge was enough to make a grown man cry. Fail after fail after fail. Sometimes I thought I might make it, only to miss my shot by a hair. Other times, it was a fail from the start. I was ready to give up. Yet, in a blessing from God himself, the stars aligned. I was on good pace, there were absolutely no zombies in my way, and boom, I finally made it. With my newfound strength, I made my way back to Brandon, kicked his skinny little ass, saved Vicky's life, and then just
Woo! Hey, need help! Help me out here!
And oh yeah, my reward for that whole fiasco was the stomp. It's pretty well useless. Over the next few hours, I went around the mall being a hero as usual, but as much as I loved saving people, I much preferred killing them, so I was off to see Ted and Snowflake. Now, I was expecting this battle to destroy me. I mean, look, the guy has a goddamn tiger on his side. But after drawing Ted away from his pet and trapping him in a group of zombies, I quickly realized that this joke of a man was actually a lot weaker than I had first thought. I mean, you couldn't even call that a fight. We just bullied the poor guy. As happy as I was, that was only half the problem. I still had Snowflake to deal with. Luckily for me, she can actually be tamed. Unluckily for me, this was easier said than done. In theory, all you gotta do is grab 3 pieces of steak, chuck them at the tiger's face, and pray to God that she takes the bait. In practice, well, tigers are incredibly unpredictable. So I spent the better part of 20 minutes trying to get that stupid tiger to eat my steaks. In the end, it worked, but man did I ever want to kick that stupid tiger down a flight of stairs. Anyway, I was now invincible. Or I would have been, but having a tiger with me the whole game would have been kind of cheesy. So I ended up giving the tiger that had nearly mauled me to death multiple times to my 7-year-old daughter instead. Next on my to-do list was Antoine. I had tried killing him before, but unfortunately the man was just too strong. See, he's the only psychopath that can heal as you fight him, and because the man was quick on his feet, there was absolutely nothing I could do. So, instead of fighting him myself, I assembled a team of professionals and killers. Jenna, the warrior queen who had slaughtered a whole battlefield of men all by herself. Floyd, a little goth boy who enjoyed wearing makeup but was definitely more deadly than he seemed. Alan, The man who had killed his entire family with nothing but a pair of scissors. And Lenny, an accountant. Antoine was as good as dead. They all betrayed me. The only loyal one was Lenny. I knew I shouldn't have trusted those band rejects. Looks like I was gonna have to deal with Antoine myself. Now, I tried for a long time to beat this man fair and square, but unsurprisingly, each attempt ended in failure. The problem was that I'd do some damage to Antoine, he'd decide to run away like a coward, and because I was so damn slow, he'd always end up healing the bit of damage I did before I could get to him. It was frustrating. An endless cycle of misery and disappointment with no solution in sight. But of course, that wasn't enough to stop me. You see, Antoine had one fatal flaw. He was predictable. I quickly found out that if I was super precise, I could stunlock the poor bastard by baiting out his attacks. My method was simple. I would jump kick him twice, bait out some attacks, and rinse and repeat. This would essentially stop him from running away from me and healing, since he was the one now stuck in an infinite loop. The problem with my strategy before was that if I tried to brute force it by constantly kicking the guy, he'd power through my third kick every time and slap me down. Even if he didn't hit me, he'd still have enough time to run away and refuel. But now I had him right where I wanted him. It was brilliant. And Antoine didn't last longer than a few minutes. It was then time to deal with TK's bank heists. He had his goons set up all around the mall with massive drills to break into some bank vaults, and it was up to me to put a stop to it. So, after taking out the goons with ease, I punched those drills until my hands bled. It may not have been the smartest move in the world, but it worked. And then I came to the van. Was destroying it even possible? TK couldn't believe it. In his eyes, I was as deadly as Thanos, and I could tell he was starting to sweat. That's when Rebecca decided to show up and film the scene of the crime. I saw my chance and I didn't let it slip through my fingers. I ran up to her, pretended to trip, and landed with her on top of me. Unfortunately, she didn't fall for it and just helped me up. So yeah, from here I went around the mall doing my typical routine. I'd fight a psychopath, save some survivors, gain lots of PP, and repeat. I was convinced that life couldn't get any better until I learned the drop kick. I couldn't believe it. The drop kick was a move that was more powerful than getting hit by a train. It was damn near more powerful than a nuclear bomb. So from this point on, I was truly invincible. The only thing TK and his goons could do at that point was take my lover hostage. Now, I didn't know whether I should have been angry or turned on, but because I'm such a good guy, I decided to kill those women with my bare hands. It was a crazy fight, and it came really close at the end, but those delusional morons were no match for my drop kick. Crystal got really upset, committed seppuku, I marked my territory like a dog, and then I went over to save Rebecca. And I was back to my routine, saving survivors, leveling up, playing strip poker, and purposely losing so I didn't have to see Woodrow's soggy little wiener. Basically, a lot happened. Kenneth even seemed to enjoy seeing me in my underwear. I didn't like it. Since I had destroyed his plans to rob the banks earlier, TK was cutting his losses and planned to escape in a helicopter, but there was no way in hell I was gonna let that happen. So I found out where he was taking off, took out his boys, and came face to face with the man himself. Now, obviously, drop-kicking a helicopter isn't something a normal person can do. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? Could such a feat even be done? I tried drop-kicking it, I tried punching it, I even tried elbow-dropping it, yet nothing seemed to work. In the end, all I could do was throw objects at the helicopter blades. After capturing TK and chaining him up in the spare room of the safe house, I was ready to get to the endgame. The military was arriving soon. I had already gotten every gift possible for Katie, and I was feeling pretty confident about the last few boss fights coming up. As long as nobody else hid in their little helicopter like a coward, I was sure I could beat them. That is, until I met a disgusting woman named Bibi. Bibi had kidnapped a whole bunch of people, and it was up to me to save them. The only problem was, they were rigged to explosives, and if I didn't do what she asked, she'd kill everyone. First, I was to dress in a tuxedo, which I already was. Then I had to get her a drink, and finally, I had to gather a crowd and perform the lighting and special effects for her little music show. And keeping to her word, she freed the poor hostages. But then she attacked me out of nowhere! What the hell? I hadn't done a damn thing to her! So I did the only thing I could. I defended myself. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but what else could I do? After breaking a casino chair over Bibi's face, it occurred to me that we didn't need to be fighting. It was completely pointless. But Bibi didn't see it my way. She didn't listen to reason, and in her desperation to kill me, a zombie had done her in. I was so depressed. The military finally arrived at the mall and everything was looking good. Everyone in the safe house was excited and we couldn't wait to be saved. But then, some green gas emerged from the sewers and turned all of the zombies into invincible demons. The platoon was wiped out in seconds. For some reason, Rebecca was down there, and as usual, I was the only one who could save her. But of course, it wasn't that simple. Sergeant Boykin had taken her hostage, and I had to get through him before I could get to her. And oh man, was he ever annoying. Not difficult or anything, just annoying. The way he would manhandle me, the way he talked down to me. I know he had suffered some brain damage from the trauma of losing his brothers, but Jesus man, he was seriously messed up. The elbow drop from the top turnbuckle was enough to send him to an early grave. I told Rebecca it was time to go, but she stopped me. Her foot, it was sprained. If she was gonna get back to the safe house, I'd have to carry her. Hey, I didn't mind. I was feeling pretty happy about myself for the most part, but after saving some military guys and putting Rebecca on the floor for a second, I quickly realized that she had lied to me. Her foot wasn't sprained at all. I mean, look at her go, completely fine without me. I told Rebecca that we were done. When we got back to the safe house, all hell broke loose. Apparently, someone had left the bulkhead door open and everyone in the safe house was now at risk of dying. I bolted out into the danger, gathered all the necessary materials I could, and I got the door sealed again. Thank God. But who could have done this? Surely the only person with access to the bulkhead door was... What? After everything Rebecca and I had been through, after all of the tender moments and all of the adorable bonding, he killed her because he didn't want her contacting the news station? I couldn't believe it. I was beyond furious, and I promised myself that I wouldn't be content until Sullivan's ribcage was pulled out piece by piece. So I went on the chase. I ended up following his trail to the mall roof, and it was there he told me he was a secret spy who worked for a company that wanted to destroy the world. He couldn't have the news outlets finding out there were survivors in the mall, so Rebecca had to go. That was all I listened to before beginning my rampage. Sullivan was a slippery snake, and I was afraid the fight would be harder than it looked, but he was no match against my falling elbow. It didn't matter that he was the leader in a foreign military, and I was just some loser with a poorly buttoned up ass flap. He was going down. I put all of my strength into that fight, and in the end, I destroyed him. Sullivan was dead, and my sweet Rebecca was avenged. But the story doesn't end there. No. TK was still a problem. When I went on my mission for vengeance, TK had apparently broken free again and kidnapped Katie and Stacy. He was waiting for me in the arena, so with everything I'd learned throughout my time at the mall, I charged into the battle head first and began the true final fight. TK was a monster. He had everything. Strength, speed, he even had the powers of a treadmill, but I didn't let that stop me. Even though I had no healing items, even though TK had every advantage in the world, I never gave up. It was definitely a tough battle, but just like Sullivan, all it took was an elbow drop combo to finally finish him off. I had finally done it. I went over to the crank, saved Katie and Stacy, and we all lived happily ever after. The only sad part of this story is that I didn't actually complete the challenge because of TK's helicopter. Before you guys go, don't forget to check out War Thunder in the description or my pinned comment down below. It's completely free on PC, Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and the previous console generations. Don't forget that you'll be getting a large, free bonus pack when you sign up using my link, and you'll get multiple premium vehicles, premium account boosters, and a lot more. If you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe to me, and don't forget to click that bell, otherwise you pretty well aren't subscribed to me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.